Well, it's 10 o'clock, so I think we'll get started. Good morning and welcome to today's presentation, How Safety and Claims Impact Your Workers' Compensation Premium. I'm Dawn Bausch, Vice President of Administration at Cooperative Network, and I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers from Agri-Services Agency, Bill Halligan, Ashley Nadeau, and Anne Marie Lotosha. Agri-Service Agency was founded by farmers more than 50 years ago and offers comprehensive and competitively priced insurance solutions, everything from health insurance benefits to farm insurance and workers' compensation coverage. As Agri-Service Agency's workers' compensation claim manager, Bill has over 27 years of claim management experience overseeing third-party claims, and he also manages claim professionals in over 30 states. Ashley is the Senior Safety and Loss Control Representative and has over 10 years of safety experience. She is an authorized OSHA outreach trainer and conducts on-site training and safety visits. Anne Marie is Agri-Service Agency's Director, Insurance Services, and has over 25 years of insurance industry experience. Much of her career has been focused on workers' compensation, and she is committed to assisting insureds in all aspects of this line of business. Cooperative Network is thankful and thrilled to have them present today's webinar, and I'll turn it over to Ashley and Marie.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on this presentation. A little bit about what we do here at ASA. We manage a workers' compensation captive, which in essence is an insurance company that offers monoline workers' compensation insurance for the agriculture community. We operate within the DFA cooperative. What we are here to talk about today is how safety and claims impact your workers' compensation premium. To start, the first question would be, how is your workers' compensation premium rated? In simple terms, it's rated based on your payroll, the rate of your work comp classification or whatever class of business you operate in, and by your claims experience. An experience mod factor is calculated by looking back at your prior 3 years of premium and claims, excluding the most current year. If the mod factor is a debit, for example, 1.15, then your premium is increased. If it is a credit, then your premium goes down. The first and most important thing you can do as an employer is to provide a safe workplace for your employees. That will translate to fewer claims, which will inevitably keep your workers' comp premium down. Here are some examples from our senior loss control rep, Ashley, that you should find insightful.
Hello, everyone. The first account that I'd like to discuss involved an insured that was really difficult from the beginning. They really didn't want anything to do with loss control. When I had to visit the farm, they would just let me go around. They never even came out to meet me. I visited this account and made several recommendations, but they were all ignored. This account eventually ended up having an accident where an employee fell through the roof at trying to shovel snow, and he landed almost 30 feet onto the barn floor. At this point, they ended up reaching out to me for help. I decided to cancel all my appointments for the day, and I went out to assist. We did a full walkthrough of the farm to try to find any items that OSHA would cite and correct them before they arrived. They did end up getting some citations from OSHA, which included no fall protection and not notifying OSHA of the accident within the allotted time frame. These citations that they received could have been a lot worse than they were. Following this accident, I worked closely with the owners to try and establish a proper training program. One of my recommendations I also gave them was to hire a safety manager. They ended up taking my advice, and now the safety manager ensures that all OSHA required trainings are done and in a timely manner. Since this incident, the owners are now very welcoming of loss control and appear to have a tighter rein on their safety program. Next, please. The second example I want to discuss involves an insured that was originally a very safety conscious account and performed well for many years. A sudden onset of claims began to occur, and they did not seem to take it seriously. And they had won several awards for outstanding safety, so it was hard for them to understand why they were having all these claims. I went to the farm to do a stewardship with our claims department, and I still felt like they weren't getting it. Finally, I went out with the underwriter, and we spent quite a bit of time explaining the implications of ignoring this claim trend. Some of these included cost, which this includes premium increases, which also leads to less money for expansion, equipment, and potential raises for the employees. Employee morale, which having the workers have to pick up the slack of injured workers that are out or on light duty can really bring the other workers down. And then potential for non-renewal of the policy, which at the time their mod was over 2. And they were more than likely, if they left us, we're going to have to go to the state fund. I began to revisit loss control services. And instead of going out annually, I started to visit quarterly. Numerous trainings were conducted by myself, another coworker who specializes in bilingual trainings, as well as incorporating a new HR training tool that would ensure that all of the employees were up to date on their OSHA required trainings. I then worked with the management on releasing toxic employees and creating a solid disciplinary system that would ensure that all employees were following safety rules. Things began to turn around and the claims started to fall from about 17 to 20 a year down to only 2 or 3. And this final example I'd like to discuss
Sorry.
is one of our DFA farms that we insure. The owner was the newest generation who was taking over for his father and grandfather, and he seemed to be very safety driven. He wanted to change the culture from what his father and grandfather had in place. From the very beginning, he was eager to work with loss control. I visited the farm numerous times to do trainings, loss control visits, and offer some advice up for the employee. To this day, he calls me very frequently for advice on claims or safety related issues. He also calls to inquire whether or not they should file a claim as record only, where I would suggest sending the injured worker, and what added safety measures he could put in place to help prevent the claim in the future. This account right here is a perfect example of someone that's safety driven and willing to do whatever is needed to put their employees first. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Because if not, up next is our claims manager, who's going to provide the cost impact from his perspective.
If you do have any questions, you can use the Q&A tab to enter those. I'll just give a couple seconds just to see if anybody does have any questions at this point before I move on. Okay, I don't see any questions in there, so I will move on to the 1 second here. If I Okay, good. Sorry, I lost my screen here.
Bill, you're on mute.
Yep. Sorry, for a second, I'm working remote here, and for a second lost my screen, so I apologize for that. When we're dealing with claims and how they impact your premium, there are 2 factors that really contribute to that. The first one would be the frequency of your claims, or the number of claims that occur. The reason for that is a lot of minor claims can accumulate and result in significant costs of claims. And then the other thing about it is, even if there are minor claims, the fact of the matter is some of those incidents are indications of a problem that may end up resulting at some point in a more significant and more costly claim. So either one of those can actually impact the overall cost of premium. And the reason for the cost of claims being an impact, even on small claims, is you do have ER visits, physical therapy, diagnostic testing, even on those small ones that, if you have enough of them, can total up to a significant amount and end up driving your premium costs much higher. The other thing would be severity of claims, and severe claims have significant injury costs. Beginning with emergency transports, we frequently see on extremely severe claims where individuals have to be airlifted or things like that. And as an example, just one airlift can be as expensive as up to $50,000 to get someone to treatment. And that in and of itself is a huge impact. Extended hospitalizations in those same claims. We've had some instances where individuals have been in the hospital for up to a month or a couple of months, and those bills and costs add up very quickly. Multiple surgeries, things like that. Medical equipment that's required to be sent home with individuals and provided to them for recovery. Physical therapy, a lot of times on the more significant claims, physical therapy can extend for months or even in some instances years. And then tie in with that also occupational type therapy that frequently goes on for many years in some of the more severe cases. And you have those therapies can really add up and drive much higher claim costs that in turn drive higher premium. Long-term care. Sometimes we've even had individuals who have permanent long-term care, nursing home care, which is thousands of dollars per month for those costs that, again, drive very high costs in the long term. On top of that, you have the disability payments for the lost time that the individuals have, and that is another additional cost. If it's a permanent partial or permanent total disability, those costs can be continued for the life of the individual, which again drives very high costs. And then we have fatality claims, which frequently fatality claims also have a number of these emergency costs that we talked about, the transportation, the hospitalization, and surgeries before, unfortunately, individuals end up passing away. So you have those medical costs in combination with lifetime payments to the widow and dependents of those individuals that can cost significant dollars as well. So when you total those all up, obviously you have a very high cost of those claims that can impact premium. A couple of examples. The first one is an example of frequency impacting premium. We have an insured who had 245 minor claims. And when I say minor claims, the most costly of them was $7,000. And this is from the time frame 2020 to 2024. The total claim cost for those 245 claims was nearly $200,000. So when you look at that, those claims totaled up have had a significant impact on the overall claims costs. And in addition to that, as a result, premiums have been impacted by that and been more costly for the individual insured. The other one is a severity case for one of our insureds. They had only 3 claims from 2020 and 2024. That was their total number of claims. One of their claims was a slip fall injury that resulted in a claim for $1.9 million. That's because after the fall, the individual was found in an unresponsive state. Ended up that he had a traumatic brain injury, rib fractures, cervical and thoracic fractures, and a rotator cuff tear. So multiple body sites, multiple treatments. Frequently, the treatments couldn't be completed at the same time, so they'd be waiting for the one body part to resolve before they'd move on to another one. And in the end, the person ended up with a permanent total disability with lifetime medical treatment required, resulting in obviously significant costs with that $1.9 million. So that one claim, even though there were only 3 claims in total for that individual insured, the overall cost of those claims from one real incident was driven significantly higher. This is the another example of a severity claim. Location with only 9 claims from 2020 to 2023. And he suffered a double amputation below the knees. And the accident was very traumatic to not just himself, but also to all the other individuals that were involved. And as a result of this, he was only 21 years old at the time. And as a result of it, he ended up having extremely high costs, including, as I mentioned before, that emergency flight, which the fee was $111,000. And that's frequently driven, the cost of that is driven by how severely or in the types of injuries that they have, because of the fact that he had the double amputation and the requirements to keep him alive during the flight. It was a very costly transport. And in addition to that, he had another $2 million in inpatient medical hospital fees. Again, due to the trauma that was involved, there's a lot of treatments that were needed. He was in the hospital for an extended period of time, and the result was extremely high costs for those hospital fees. He ended up with obviously a permanent disability. All in all, he actually had a pretty good result. He is functioning. He's has a very positive attitude and has really come along very well. However, he's in need of prosthetics for both lower extremities below the knees, and each of those prosthetics come with a very significant price tag. And as a result of the need for those prosthetics, as well as the fact that because prosthetics wear out, obviously, they need to be replaced. And as you can see, he's 21 years old. So over the life of his claim, they will have to be replaced multiple times. And so the cost of this claim projection at this point in time is $7.5 million. So obviously that situation has a major impact on premium costs.
Bill, there's a question. Is there a minimum to be considered a minor claim?
What we consider actually minor claims would be individual claims where the person maybe just treats for an emergency room visit, maybe a couple of extra appointments, and then doesn't actually lose any time. Or if they do lose any time, it's minimal. So it's not necessarily the cost of it. It's more the amount of time the person loses from work. There's no specific measurement for that, but just in general, if someone has minimal lost time and only a few medical treatments, those are usually considered to be the more minimal claims.
And then another question just popped in. Where are you all located, and do you provide coverage across the country?
Yes, we're located, we actually are located in Syracuse, New York, which is central New York. But we do provide, we are owned by Dairy Farmers of America, which is national. And so we do provide national coverage with the exception of a handful of states. So we handle it out of our New York office, but we do have claims individuals in each of the states that we work in, which is approximately right now we're in 35 to 40 states that we cover.
Yes, and our contact information is here if anyone would like to reach out further with any questions.
There's one last question. Once you have a high expense mod, I don't know what,
Experience mod.
yeah, experience
Yep.
mod, how long does it take to get it down?
So the experience period is 3 years, not including the current year. So if you have a claim, it usually takes about 4 years to fall out of your experience mod. Any other questions for us? Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening in today. And I will let Dawn close it out.
Yep. Thank you to Anne Marie, Ashley, and Bill for presenting today. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to them or you can send me an email at the Cooperative Network office and I can pass it along. This video has been recorded, so we will share it to the attendees and we'll also see if they'll share their slides as well. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much.